2025 first Thetford Council Watch meeting. We didn't have one over the holiday period for obvious reasons, so anybody who's volunteered to sit around the table, thank you very much. We're a bit thin on the ground, but good things come in little packages, Zach, don't they?
Certainly.
Declarations of any excusable pecuniary interest. Is there anything on the agenda from a business point of view where you might be called corrupt?
No, definitely not.
Apologies for absence. I've got apologies from Barbara. I think we've given up on Sean Stevens. He just can't make it anymore. Dennis sends his apologies as well. He's otherwise Ollie would have come down. Anybody wants to check the minutes, Gemma has them, and also you can see anything we've said on LSB Film Productions website, all the past meetings. So the first agenda item is the cancellation of the January 2025 full council meeting. I just thought I'd let you know what happened from my perspective. When I heard that there was an extraordinary council meeting the week before, I went into the council to try and find out what it was, and I spoke to some members of the staff, and they explained to me that it was just loose ends and they were tidying things up. From what I heard, it was the budget for Breckland needed to be put in before the full council meeting, so that is why they met. And I said, so you don't really need the public there, it'd be a waste of time because everybody would have to drop everything to achieve this extraordinary meeting. I told you don't need to be there because we got the full council meeting coming up. And because I was working, I got the agenda from that extraordinary council meeting where they main agenda items was to approve the budget and setting up the precept for this year, how much the town pays and how much you pay to Breckland. But the other thing I noticed, which I wasn't told about, I've got down here, the staff indicated that the full council meeting would still go ahead. However, they had the boundary review on the agenda where there's been an independent body have looked at the boundaries within local councils all over the country, and that was spoken about the changes. And it's got down here, the leads were the mayor and one councillor, Jamie. So what I find interesting is we weren't told that our MP was at the extraordinary meeting.
That's crafty.
That is.
I'm glad you're saying that, because I thought if that had been announced,
That stays on, though.
if that had been announced, we would have turned up, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
he hasn't been seen since the 25th of June. I thought I'd add that one.
Yeah, last year, yeah.
So,
No, but it's on. This is the actual agenda. So it's got Leeds, the mayor, and Councillor Jamie. So what I was a little bit taken aback by is that nobody actually said to me when I went into the council, oh, by the way, the MP will be there.
That's very underhanded.
Yeah, because I thought if it announced that to you lot sitting here, that some people might have been able to attend on the night.
and yeah, not one of us, no.
And be able to get a question to our MP. How does it look? It looks to me like there was a lot of cover being run for the MP, and the MP didn't really want any members of the public there.
A
That's
bit
a
like-
strange question.
A bit like the last council meeting that he attended. He turned up late to avoid questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, perception is everything, isn't it? So, does anybody want to make a comment on it?
Well,
Yeah,
he didn't want to speak to Dennis either, did he?
No.
He wouldn't speak to
No,
Dennis.
he wouldn't.
Caused him.
No, but that wasn't a council meeting, though.
No, it wasn't a council meeting.
Yeah, that was
He
surgery,
wanted to
I
go and
think.
speak to him.
Yeah.
He didn't want to speak to him,
No.
and he knew him well.
Yeah.
He knew him
And the
for 12
thing,
years.
I mean, the thing is with the guy so far, I mean, you think he's been elected with the smallest ever election numbers, and so far, I mean, I wrote them down. So far, Chris did a video on it about how he's backing the churches and the historic buildings and all that sort of thing, and yet he's St Mary the Lake, his own town, is in absolute disrepair. So that's how much he cares that he's not doing his thing in his own town first. And he's also gone, he voted against the grooming gangs investigation, and he also voted in favour of cutting the OAP's winter allowance.
Exactly.
So, and there's many more things that we can reveal about him.
We could question him.
So, if anyone on here on Facebook, exposing Labour in Thetford is a great page on Facebook, and there's lots and lots of points on there where he just isn't doing the job that he should be doing. He's not for the people. So far, all he's backed is his political party.
He got voted in people over party. Remember, he got voted in people over party.
Well,
He's
I'll
done
tell you what,
party
yeah.
over people.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we'll go into that in a bit more detail later. I do have a thing on that. What concerns me though was the fact that nobody said, as an ex-councillor, I know people, the staff, nobody once said, oh, by the way,
So
Mark,
what they've done there is they've created a bit of plausible deniability, haven't they?
Yeah.
They said, oh, we forgot to mention it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I would say that was quite a deliberate act.
However, what concerned me though was that, as I said, the staff indicated that the full town council meeting would still go ahead.
Yeah.
However, so that's why I phoned, put the messages out. Look, it's a bit fast tonight. We've all got our own life to live. Let's leave it tonight. It's not much of an agenda. We don't need to be there. We didn't know the MP was there. However, what happened is a few days later, when else was known, they actually cancelled the full council meeting. And I put down, this was very late in the day, and it denied the public any scrutiny of their elected councillors. Now, the reason I've been given for that through the grapevine is they felt that there was nothing really more to be said at another council meeting after what they went through on that night when there was no public there.
What about the public address?
This is where I'm concerned. There
Yeah.
seems to be no
They still had an obligation to turn up
well, they should be listening to
for
the
public
public.
questions,
Yeah.
shouldn't they?
I mean, how many times has Jeremy been in the region since he's been elected? I've not seen like down.
Good shout.
Has anybody?
No,
Or is
because
he living in London?
yeah, because he's the MP. I'm just wondering why. Well, it's a good question, Al. So he doesn't come to all the meetings. There's a certain time in the year, I believe, where he can stay as a county and district and town councillor before he has to give up the position. But it was just interesting that he came back on that evening to take the lead on an agenda item.
What,
And
sorting
the
the
public-
budgets out? I wonder why he's interested in
So
that.
this is boundary, so it's boundary reviews. So is he sort of aiding?
He knows that if
He
there's an
knows
election,
he
he's
knows
not
the
gonna
figures,
last.
and he knows where those boundaries need to go.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, so you do a bit of digging on that. What did come onto that though, having a chance to look at it, that we've ended up with 2 extra Brecon councillors, funny old thing, after the boundary review. So they've gerrymandered with all over the country, the boundaries and the wards at different levels. But the outcome of that is 2 more councillors that we have to pay for. So they probably have a couple of extra staff for that as well, and more in fleet, gold index pensions. I'm being facetious.
So do hear, is it correct that Terry Land is on Jeremy's parliamentary team?
I have heard that.
Yeah. So
All interesting. So that was the council January full council meeting, and the extraordinary meeting where the MP turned up. We didn't know about it. Is there any questions about that from the public? Any observations? I mean, would you have liked to have met your MP at the?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, it would have nice to
I
have
don't
been
think the only
publicised.
time I've ever seen him was on stage with the 20-minute zone. That's the only time I've ever seen him.
yeah.
And I've been to most meetings. I never.
What was that? Two years ago?
It must be.
At least.
That's the first time I've started to get into the group.
Yeah.
So I've never seen him since.
30th of
Yeah.
March.
But before that, I see Terry Jeremy on quite a few occasions going around the town. And where I live, I told Zach that they was going to clamp our cars because we parked it on the grass.
Right.
And they put letters through the door, so they was going to clamp the cars. We held a meeting down the Redcastle first, and Terry was there and all that, and the police, everything. And the only question I asked was, okay, I don't mind not parking on the grass, but please tell me where I can park. It was a simple question. No answer.
No, there won't be.
And then Terry went in the meeting and walked out.
Really?
Stabbed
It
his,
was-
stabbed his feet.
It was just
Yeah,
a waste of time again.
yeah.
Waste of time. And then when I said to the police, the only thing I can think of is having it a one-way system. And St John's a one-way system. You drive in one end, drive out the other. You could park on the left or the right or whatever. I don't know. And the policeman said, there's a lot of paperwork involved in that. God's truth, Bob. God's truth. And now, anyone park. Where else can you park?
Exactly.
So Terry, no, he's a waste of time.
And was anyone ever claimed?
No. No one was ever claimed. But we got the threatening letters to start with
Yeah,
to say
yeah.
that they will, and that's why.
I bet there was no name attached to those letters.
Well, there you go. See, I'm not educated enough to know all that. If I knew you guys before that, I would have probably involved. Dave Ward, you know Dave?
Yeah, yeah.
Dave Ward was there. He was there.
Well, I'll tell you, in that situation, what I would suggest is that when they first put and planned that open public area, the kids used to play out football somewhere for the kids. Now the kids don't do that too much, they're all on the computers.
Yeah.
The best thing that could happen is that they actually turn that into a bit more of a car park for the residents there.
Yeah.
However, that would cost money.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so that was the cancellation of the January full council meeting there. Next agenda item then, just to go through things, because it's been 2 months. Public questions at the last meeting and any outcomes. So any information that you've got on that. What I've got here is residents have written in about donated paintings to the council that they wanted back and have not had a reply. So if you remember in November we had that gentleman berated the council. I believe he has now got his paintings
He
back.
has. Yeah, he has got them back.
So we got a result
Yeah.
there, and he's taken his paintings away in disgust of the way the council was conducting himself, which I find quite sad. Could the council give any evidence of the climate crisis that they have declared in the town, and would they debate moving the 30,000 that they've allocated for it into from their new climate crisis pot?
Now,
Yeah.
on the climate crisis one, we was told by the mayor back in November that would be addressed in January, but they cancelled the meeting.
Well, it's got to come soon, hasn't it?
Yeah, and in the run up to it, just before Christmas, I passed a video full of stats and facts and figures and what have you to the town clerk and to other councillors that are interested, and that was going to be in the run up to the January meeting as well, which never went ahead.
So I'll have a bit more on that later actually. I've also got money still being spent on security guards and members of the public are being banned. So I think we need to keep pressure on that because we've got a member around the table who's being banned. Presently we have got a bit of a
And the other thing,
strategy for that. Which
going
I'll
back
go
to your
later.
item number 3, the 30 grand. Well, they were going to pull that 30 grand for a climate emergency, weren't they?
Yeah.
But then they started to talk about using it for a bus shelter.
15.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
£15,000.
So that means we're 15 grand short in the climate fund now.
Oh no.
Yeah, but it turns out that the land they want to put the bus shelter on, they don't know who owns it. so they've had to drop that as well. So we've still got 30 grand in the pocket. We've still got 30 grand there.
But surely the climate crisis is getting worse. They could have stopped it by now, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they could have spent it on a cloud buster or
What's that good about that?
something like that. Yeah.
An electric bus at least.
But it's yeah. So I mean, the next stage is
Fire up the whip and shed.
certainly on my part is that I am going to require them to retract their climate declaration, their climate crisis declaration, because they've got nowhere to go. They've got no evidence to back their claim.
It's nearly a year since we've was after our data gathering point as well. But that was April that went in. So it's a year. You can't come back with any data. Nothing.
Yeah.
See, what I'm concerned about is we didn't know about the bus stop, did we? We just got
Yeah.
told there was 30,000. We didn't know that in effect the council was plotting and planning to have this bus shelter as part of the strategy. Now, because you've got a lot of new councillors and you've got a lot of new officers there, I'm quite concerned because the minute you're going to put a bus shelter in, the first thing you've got to do is go to county and speak to highway. You can't just come up with an idea like that without doing the due diligence, because Norfolk County Council, specifically highways, own where they're going to put the bus. So, but it sounds like they've done a plan, and then found out afterwards they can't do it because they haven't done the due
It was dropped in quite childishly from the mayor anyway. It looked like this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
So for the councillors that are watching this, or are watching it retrospectively, I'm looking for you to retract your climate declaration emergency. I want you to be the first council in the whole country to retract your statement. A bit like Trump did with his Green Deal.
Or if not, they've got to present us with evidence.
Yeah.
You can't.
Because we're only on.
How vexatious of you.
Oh yeah.
Very.
You can't just pay taxpayers' money without showing the evidence.
Am I right in saying you will put me right? I know you will. The few meetings I've been to, we ask questions, never an answer back.
Never answer. Never.
So have we ever had an answer on any questions?
Well, let's just hold that moment, Mark, because
Right.
the next agenda item.
I'm not reading it. I haven't got my glasses, Bob. Honestly, I'm not reading it.
No, I wanted to give a mention to the next agenda item is Colchester Council Watch. And I've got down, this Council Watch as a channel and shows identical problems to what we're having here. Yeah. And they're onto the climate crisis, probably at a bigger and a better level than what we are.
They are.
Yeah.
Because Rachel, she's the one who put the video together, full of all the stats, facts and figures that I sent to our councillors. But the thing is, she's getting all of her stats and figures and documentation from actual scientists.
Yeah.
Now those scientists were due to attend the council meeting to give across their evidence that the climate crisis is not exactly truthful, and those scientists weren't allowed to speak.
They weren't allowed to speak, yeah. So they arranged the presentation and got cancelled, I believe.
Yeah.
Because the councillors do not want to have information.
Yeah. And we had to. Sorry.
They don't want to be challenged.
No. We had the same at West Suffolk Council when things started to get heated. In the end, it got to the point where you have to submit your question or submit your statement, and if it doesn't fit into what they want to hear, they just won't let you in.
It's not just that. If there's members of the public that it's their first time at a meeting, whatever, and they suddenly hear a different point of view than what's being shown them,
Yeah.
they're going to start to think, hold on, which one's right? And they'll do their own,
Yeah.
suppress everything,
Yeah.
and only give them what they want to hear,
Yeah.
what they want you to hear.
Yes.
So you're talking about controlling the narrative there, Alan. I've got two other items down on the main agenda item, which we can talk about. They have their bags checked now on entry by private security
Who, the council?
at Colchester.
Ah.
They have to have the bags checked.
So they have private security as well.
They have private security.
Right.
I'll give the councillors the due. The retort they came back with why they were doing it under present circumstances, you probably couldn't argue against. But it's just to show you how they've progressed under. We've got the private security here, and that could be what happens next for us, that we start getting searched when we go in. But the main thing I've got down is that the Colchester Council Watch and the members of the public that go up to ask a question are treated with disdain by the councillors.
Yeah.
And are ignored by them. You know, and that points then to the fact that a presentation which was organised is cancelled. The elected councillors do not want to have dialogue. They do not want to be questioned, and they will not give any answers to any of the decisions that they're making, which tells you, well, it says to me that they're being controlled from above.
Yeah, I will say that last meeting, for once they didn't have their backs turned to us. They were all sat straight at the table, and no one.
Oh, this is the Thetford meeting.
Yeah, no one barracked us, no one berated us. Terry Lang didn't sit there on his laptop going, "Shut up, sit down, get to your question." Yeah, well,
Drink!
yeah, but he's a bit like it. Yeah.
No, I think the point,
And
I think the point we're trying to get across here is that councillors are elected to stand up and represent the people.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's the part, you know, once you're in there, it doesn't matter if it's another member of a separate party. They're there for all the people.
Yeah.
No, they should not be ignoring the people. There should be no disdain against the people.
And there should be no politics involved in town councils because
Very
it's
true.
supposed to be
And there is
non-political. Yeah.
there is plenty.
Well, don't be wrong, you could say that at the county level. You know, if you're elected as a county councillor and you go in there and your Labour councillor is represent you and you're a Conservative, he should still have manners and affect you. Oh, hang on, you're not allowed to ask questions at the county level.
No.
No, but the thing is, the lack of manners, the lack of want to have dialogue with the public, it just seems to be happening everywhere. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not just here; it's countrywide. Yeah, and it has been for 2 years now, something like that.
Well,
Well, that chat, you know. go on.
sorry, mate. I'll say it's no different than PMQs, is it? You got.
Yeah.
So opposition have got to give their questions in a week before, so they don't get the answers ready.
That's right. Yeah,
I mean, so it's no different, is it?
Yeah.
It's just passed down.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Any more comment? Anybody in the audience seen Colchester Council Watch? It is worth a watch. Very interesting, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, they're good at what they do. Yeah.
Okay, next agenda item is a bit of excitement in the town last week. Private debt collectors in Thetford. The bullet points you've got, they are a private corporation masking as council workers. They're misleading the police who turn up when called by them. And the Thetford residents need to be briefed on their rights as the private debt collectors were sent packing by Thetford Council Watch. Do you want to take the lead on that, Zach? Or how it happened and how you called out?
Yeah, well, basically, obviously, I was first to turn up to the scene, so I've pulled in. He's basically, well, the clamps were really on both the van and the work van and the car, his wife's car. And straight away, he said, "Who the hell am I?" I went, "Well, there you are." I said, "Barry's called for someone to come and represent him," and he wouldn't give no proof of claim. He had no contract paperwork to it, so Barry's removed his rights straight away, revoked his rights. Now he's trespassing, and now it all come about. He was going to attempt to go into Barry's door, so he said. And I said, "Well, basically, now you're trespassing on someone else's property now. If you haven't got consent, then basically you could be coming clean out, basically." And he's taken that as a threat, and he's called the police.
That's what initiated the
That's
police.
what initiated it. But so yeah.
So for those that don't know then, because he was attempting to gain entry, and Zach quite correctly said you can't come in, he called the police and said that was threatening behaviour. So the police did turn up, and their reason for turning up was a potential breach of the peace. However, by that point, other people from Council Watch, Sutton constables, turned up.
Yeah. Yeah. From that point on, it was just a matter of educating the police and the so-called bailiff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It really is nothing more than that. We know they turn up with fraudulent documents, and they basically the process is just to call them out. Say, "Let me see the documents," and they won't show you the documents because they're not from who they say they are. So, but it was really interesting that the police were quite adamant that this guy had authority, and it was only once the rest of the police turned up, ended up with 6 all in all, but it was actually the sergeant who was educated to a higher level, he realised what was going on, and he was the one that sent people away. He was the one that sent the police home and the bailiff packing. But it's really important that people are not fearful. They're not fearful, because these guys are turning up with fraudulent documents. It's misrepresentation, and
pushing fear.
yeah, and it's intimidating, it's bullying, and they need stopping. They need stopping.
What I learnt on the day, especially with the interaction with the police, is that I did get commended on it off a lad in the military who I used to work with. He said very firm but fair.
Yeah.
And the one thing you realise with the police is that they actually don't know what's going on.
No, they don't.
And the main thing I think that we all did on the day was constantly ask, is this civil or criminal?
Yeah.
Now, the minute it's civil, they can't get involved.
Yeah. The other thing was the thing that I mentioned was the policeman who was insisting that the paperwork was good. Was he legally trained?
Exactly.
And he's not legally trained.
No, exactly that.
So how can you identify a legal document if you're not trained in that department? The thing is, we're more legally trained than the police are. Which is quite sad, really, isn't it?
Would we all agree for anybody?
I think it's. What I saw of that was if Bob, Mark, the other lads, I forgot your name.
Zach.
Chris. Zach. Sorry, I do apologise. What would have happened? What would, if you hadn't have turned up? What would have happened?
Yeah.
Because they might have been bullied into it, but if you're saying that he didn't have his paperwork,
Yeah.
why didn't the police nick him?
Yeah. Exactly. Well,
Why didn't the
I
police-
actually said that to one of the coppers. I said,
Yeah.
this guy needs arresting,
Yeah,
because that's fraud by misrepresentation.
yeah.
So,
We're only learning by yourselves, but it must happen. I reckon.
yeah, loads.
I would say that because we've only learned recently ourselves.
Sorry, Chris.
We've only learned recently ourselves how big the fraud is. So,
Yeah.
So, for example, what do we know about the system? At the minute you can't pay your council tax and you have a dispute, it goes through Anglian Revenue Partnership.
Is that just this area, or is that Anglia, obviously? Yeah.
Yeah, and the
And
Anglo
other councils within East Anglia.
All down Suffolk next into.
But in our area, it goes to Anglia Revenue Partnership. Now, what we do know is they've changed themselves from what I've seen online recently. But when I done research on them last year, or did research on them last year, they were a private company. They were private, and what surprised me was that they had members of Breckland Cabinet on the board. And it seemed to, from what I could see, Breckland councillors seemed to bounce in and out of that private firm. What it looks like to me at the minute is that firm's being moved closer to the council, and I haven't had a chance to do the research on that yet.
Yeah, well,
Just what that relationship.
So does that mean the councillors who are on the board are then profiteering from
Well, because we
people's
don't know,
misfortunes?
so we know that
we don't know
Breckland,
where it's going.
we know that Breckland is a private corporation, yeah. We then know, the last time I looked at it last year, that ARP is a private corporation. So members of the council sit on both corporations, which to me was against the Nolan principles.
Yeah.
Now what we've got now, we've now got a third party, is the privateers, the private debt collection company who were
Bristol.
Bristol and Shooter.
Yeah, Bristol and Suter, yeah.
Bristol and Shooter. Now, my experience as a councillor, we had to write off unpaid council tax when I was a Breckland councillor. I've said it before, substantial amount of money. So the councillors actually vote to get rid of the debt that's on their books. At what part in the proceedings between ARP and them, I don't know at the minute. I need to find out. However, once they vote for the unpaid council tax to be taken off council books, They then sell the debt and the data to the independent third party.
Party.
Which means they are then breaking the general data protection regulations.
Because they're giving information away, and we also know, because it's contract law, that there should be a deed of assignment,
Yeah, legally executed.
Legally executed.
which means that the council, the person who can't pay the debt, and the third party who's picking up and buying the debt and the data, I believe it's bundled into packages of data, which then goes out. So basically what we've got is we've got this privateer who's turning up, putting pressure on the residents, saying that he's working for the council. The minute there's an altercation with a member of the public, they call the police. The police don't know the system, as Bob said, they're not legally trained. They turn up, there's a potential breach.
A general data protection breach.
No, but there's a general breach of the peace potentially is going to happen, which keeps the bobbies there.
But that's why the bailiffs call them.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
But the thing is, what the bailiffs then do is, sorry, the debt collectors then tell the police that they're acting on behalf of the council.
Yeah.
And they're not, they have bought that debt independently as a private company.
Where does the money go?
And we have,
Where does the fine go? Where's the money go?
To them.
To them.
well, now, that's a thing that we discovered through looking at the paperwork, is that this particular individual, where Anglia Revenue's partnership had passed across the debt to a third party interloper, that third party interloper was turning up and saying, right, you got to pay me, but he was still getting communication off Anglia Revenue's partnership saying you got to pay me. So now you've got two people chasing the same amount of money, so it's a double the. Yeah. The other thing we've discovered as well is that there's a lot of the debt companies are actually in cahoots with the police anyway, because they're buying shares in the companies. Because the police is a private company,
Yeah.
and the courts are private companies, and the UK Limited is a private company.
So the problem we've got there is that the councillors are saying, we'll write this debt off, and they're part of the company that's collecting the money. They're going to write more and more.
No, that's at ARP. We need to do some more diligence on ARP. But the third party, from what you said, the member of the public there, you said, I'll give you an example. When we wrote off the debt, because it's a Conservative council, it didn't matter how many opposition went against it, it was going to get voted through to write off the debt. You with me there, yeah? I can't remember what it was, let's call it 75,000. So £75,000 of unpaid council tax was written off for the year. Now my understanding is that what happens is it gets bundled into packages and it's data. So say there's 20 in a bundle, that 20 is bought by the independent debt collector. So let's say, I'm not paying, he buys my debt. He buys my debt, let's say for £40. And I owe 1,400 for the year, are you with me? Now what he does is if they decide to target me, they send me a bill for 1,400 and they'll put £200 for their expenses on top. So that's 1,600, you all with me?
Yeah.
Now what they will do then is they will hammer at the door, they'll come round in the morning in a threatening manner, they'll put letters through, they'll show you the muscles, they go for the girls especially, and what they'll do is they'll terrify you. Now if you manage to hold out, eventually the pressure will wear you down. And what he'll say to you is, I tell you what, just pay me £400 and we'll call it.
So what was
Listen, you've got to listen, no?
Yeah, alright.
Just pay me £400 and we'll call it quits. Now you're saving yourself 1,000 and he's making £360 profit
Yeah.
of one person. Now if he's got a package of 20 and he's making 360 on every one of the 20, that's where they're getting the money. Now what we've all got to do is we've got to understand the system, we've got to comprehend the system so we know where and when to fight it. And that's why we need to get more information on where their ARB fits.
So is no good enough?
Well, you can. I mean, the thing is,
It's no
you
good.
can just not open the door.
Yeah.
You know, because they're not allowed to force entry.
But then they clamp your killer.
Yeah.
But they clamp your car. But as we pointed out to the police there, because he'd gone onto private property to put that clamp on another piece of private property, 9/10 of the law is possession. So that clamp, as far as we're concerned, now belongs to the guy that owes the alleged debt.
Abandoned levy.
Yeah.
What I would say to you is, you know, it's that's bandied around a lot. We're going through a great awakening at the minute, because years ago, what you've got now is you've got, I call them the main rapid response. You've got a great gang of lads up north, haven't you? They go all around the country and they get involved in this type of thing. Now, as we all go through and we become like sovereign and common law constables and whatever variation that we do, we start to find out all these things, and we form our own little local rapid responses, and we turn up for the residents. And what we do is we educate people little by little by little. But I'm saying, as an ex-military man, I can't believe how big this scam is. It's one massive, big, fraudulent scam. And what they're doing is they're picking on the vulnerable, they're picking on the people who's got no money. And there's plenty of money to go round. We just need, I'm not a communist, I'm not a socialist, I don't know what anybody thinks. But if we spent the money and we organised the money in a better way, we wouldn't have people.
And the police are backing them.
Exactly.
To be fair, but to be fair, the police don't know, because what you're doing now is you're taking kids out of school, they've got to get some sort of university degree, and then they're brainwashed at the police college, and they don't know.
It's only when the sergeant turns up.
Yeah.
You know, I want to speak to your supervisor, I want to speak to your sergeant, and the sergeant knows the score. I pointed out to one of the police actually that up in, I think it was Merseyside, the police up there were told, you don't accept any documents without a signature. So it's out there, it's on video.
Yeah, Merseyside police seem to be at the forefront of fighting back, actually. Yeah.
Our police didn't come out of that very good, did they?
No.
They come out there shocking.
Ah, no, it depends how you look at it. I thought they did.
There was
Well, no, I thought myself how inept they were.
The first bloke.
There, yeah.
That's what
that's the education system within the police, isn't it? It's a need to know basis.
But the majority of people believe what the police says is correct.
Yeah.
We're led to believe that, aren't we? We're led to believe.
Yeah, and it's the fact that you've got two people in the same uniform as well. You know, are they there as a constable, or are they there as a policy enforcement officer?
Yeah.
You know, so you've got two jurisdictions in the same uniform, and they're not even aware of that. I actually explained that to a police constable in Hyde Park once. She looked at me like I had two heads. but yeah.
Anyway, look.
No, but the great result was the fact that we didn't get locked up. Nobody was carted away, and the police lady at the end,
she was great.
She was in good humour.
She was great.
And that's where I thought the police came out of it very well.
Yeah.
Because they're going to go back and now and say around the station, listen, those Thetford Council lots and shopping people who turned up, they're not a bad bunch, they're not going to do breach of the peace. And generally what they do say sounds correct.
Well, the thing is, we've got the documentation to back it as well. So
my question is, say someone is about to be raided, or the babies come, how do they get hold of the council watch? How would they know about you?
Well, we've got a rapid response number. I was thinking about that tonight, actually, Dina. This is based on how much people are taking interest in that, and how much help that they want.
Yeah, for me, it's not about them calling a number and someone comes and rescues them.
It's about getting educated.
It's about getting educated in it.
We can help, and we'll get there if we can, but it's about people starting to wake up to what their rights are.
But they will only wake up when it affects them.
Yeah,
yes.
Usually.
No, but I agree with you, and well, that takes me on to the next agenda item. Actually, it's a nice link, because I've got coverage of the council meeting by local media. I've got down for once no front page or 2-page spread in the EDP for 2 months. It was nice for people.
One of the meetings,
The Eleanor girl, she had a rough Christmas. She didn't have as much work.
Well, it was nice for me to go into the local hostilities out in the country and not have people recognising me. Ugly mug as the front page of the Eastern Daily Express, the Robin Thieving Scouser, you know, because that's what I usually get. And I've also got down here, how are we being viewed on local social media, and did our interaction with the debt collector in Thetford garnish any support, which fits in with what we were speaking about with Tina. You know, has anybody seen that? Chris, you know, you're a social media man. Has anybody sat up and took notice of that?
Yeah, lots of people.
I'd say, in the audience, have you got anything on that?
A lot of people have noticed it.
Yeah.
A lot of people notice it, but if they act on it, it's a different thing, isn't it?
That's the
But
thing.
what was the thoughts on what they seen and what we did?
Let's see what happens in a few months' time. Let's see if there's any repercussions in a few months' time on property.
Yeah, well, what tends to happen is you might have another go, and then if there's no joy with that, they'll sell it on to another debt
Shut
collector,
onto another debt collector.
and then they'll have a go. So they'll never stop. I mean, I know somebody who's hasn't paid anything to anybody in about every 6 years. They'll have another go. They'll turn up and he said, you put their paperwork on the fire. And then, you know, and then I'll see you in 6 years' time. So
Council Watch Liverpool and Cabby said, Thetford, check out the Police Act 1996, Section 25, Special Services, Joint Enterprise in the Corporate World.
Yeah, get that on, yeah. But I think the thing is, and people have got to realise what their rights are, and once they gain confidence themselves, what concerns me though, because we're not saying that nobody should pay nothing. You know, what I'm concerned about is the amount that's being paid, where the money's going, and how many people at the bottom are suffering. That's what we got to concentrate on, which is why let's put the
Why
money
didn't they
local.
pay it in the beginning?
Say again.
So why haven't they paid it in the beginning? They don't think about that bit. They can't.
You can't
they
afford
just
it.
bought
Can't
this.
afford it.
They've got no money.
Yeah, they can't
And the
afford
thing
it.
is, these rotten bastards are coming after people that haven't got
That
anything
haven't got
anyway.
money.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, you know, the centre of gravity, as we say for this, is the council. Well, what they do is, and again, let's go through it. They will, because everything's private. When you realise a corporation, they'll hire the court and they'll hire the magistrate. Now, if you turn up on the day and admit to your name and say you understand, you've agreed to a verbal contract and you're snookered. If you don't turn up for the court case, my understanding is, that is at the point where they then sell on your debt. The minute they sell the debt on, that is when the public have got a break in there, haven't they?
Yeah.
Because that debt officially doesn't exist.
No, not with the person that's bought the data.
Now the person that comes around, that man who come round the other day, now needs a contract between you, the council, and himself, which is called the deed of assignment.
And it doesn't
And
exist.
that,
She's never going to get.
because it doesn't exist. So therefore, you've got to have in effect, the balls to say,
Yeah.
where's the paperwork? Now, this fella, like the one we had the other day, and they all do it, they turn up with a spoof bit of paper with a signature on and try and scare you.
Yeah.
What they then do is they then fool the local bobby, because the local bobby is not legally trained, like Bob said. You'll find that the debt collector will then try and get a bit of friction going by the people there, and that's then where the breach of the peace comes in, and the easiest way for the police to do it is to then feel somebody's collar and take them away.
Yeah, take them away and then.
We've got to have the patience to not contribute to a breach of the peace and just
You
get the info out.
Yeah, you remain in good standing.
To remain in good standing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be
Speak the truth.
it's going to be even worse come April when the percentage of the council tax goes
Yeah.
up.
But then there'll be a lot more people not paying.
Exactly.
People can't afford it,
Yeah.
you know. So
So for any entrepreneurs out there watching, once that, you know, Norfolk and Brecon start saying we're not emptying your bins, we'll start a company ourselves and we'll empty the bins for a pittance.
also,
My dad did say
we're
that the minute his
forced to go
wheelie bin
back.
starts getting maggots in it, he's going to empty it onto the council property.
Yeah, that's the other thing, because these people are all taking people's money. They're all on, they're all on big pensions. the
But
whole system
they're talking about raising it by 25% because they're going bankrupt. But a bankrupt company can't operate anyway.
Yeah.
Because
It's
people don't comprehend what a private company is
yeah.
and what the public is, do they?
Yeah. The other thing is they're talking about stopping elections. Now I'm not a big fan of voting, and I don't believe in the system. But for the people that do, if they haven't got the opportunity to vote for people to represent them, why are they paying money to people that aren't representing them, or why are they giving them money to an organisation that doesn't actually exist anymore because it's bankrupt?
I think that'll be coming up at the council what's meeting probably in April under the banner of lawful rebellion, and advising people not to pay based on the fact they've got no representation. But we need to cross that bridge when we arrive at it. Has anybody got any more points on the?
I was going to say on Dina's bit she was saying, I've had a lot of feedback from the public and saying it looked quite successful what happened. The basic being that why did the police turn up and then the bailiff had to leave with both of his clamps? Just a basic thing for people to look at if they're not too sure of the information. There's enough bits going on in the video. I know it's a bit blurry and all over the place, but make out of the good bits. And yeah, a lot of people were saying, there you go, there's enough information in the video. Why did the bailiffs end up leaving with their property?
But that's a good point. I made a good point to the coppers actually, because I carry a clamp, and the copper was insistent on that clamp being the property of the bailiff, the debt collector, and if it was damaged, then there would be criminal charges brought against whoever damaged it. So basically this guy's walked onto private property, clamped a private property, and the cop was backing him. So I said to the copper, I said, so I've got a clamp now, so what you're saying to me is I can go and clamp anybody's vehicle in this area and then go and demand money from them.
Yeah.
Which sort of stumped them. You know, you try and simplify your arguments with the coppers. Yeah, because that's basically what they're saying. You know, they put a clamp on your car, pay him.
His only way out of that was going to be, yeah, but he's working for the council, and we were explaining to him how he wasn't working for the council, he's private.
Yeah.
So knowledge is power, Bob, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's enough in that video for people looking to, I know Emma's said, you know, there might be the doubt in people's minds where give it a couple of months and would it be a bit of backlash, but we know, because this is the first sort of one in Thetford, but this has been up and down for quite some time in the movement as well.
Yeah.
We know the backlashes of all this, what's to then come next, but out of the doubt of some of the people's minds, with a bit of time to see how it goes on, there's enough bits making good of the video that it's all a scam, like you said, and now the people are going to start, you know, putting the knowledge into the community, definitely.
Well, that brings on to the next agenda, some future discussion, community engagement in our goals, but what's come out of that? And I did say to the house owner, and he's up for it, I said, get your neighbours, we need to have some sort of briefing, informative course, informative course where we can pass the information on.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Or
you know,
online,
do something.
check out things like Bannerman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bannerman, or what's the auditing guy that you like?
AB.
AB Audits.
Audits in Britain, yeah.
Yeah. And so check out Bannerman. He's really good for that sort of stuff. So.
But you know what it all comes back to, we should be paying money locally to look after local issues, and local people should set themselves up in a leadership point that can be questioned and will answer questions and do good for their own residents because they live with them. What we've got at the minute is we've got governance very, very high up and nobody will answer the question. You know, that's where I think the whole system's got to change.
Yeah.
What I'm not understanding is the council can sell, say, a debt I've got to someone else,
Yes.
therefore the debt's been paid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can't understand how this third party then says I owe them money when
But-
they've paid my debt to the council.
Exactly.
But unless you know that,
Well,
Exactly.
that's what's happened, isn't it?
Yes.
well,
The
look
council
at.
said it's 400, that's the debt paid.
Well, that was when Mr. Gow got cheesed off after being on the phone to somebody in this room. When Mr. Gow was thanked for paying the debt.
Yes. So, that's
He
not
left
I
won't
do.
it? You, Liz,
That
won't it?
makes sense to me.
Yes.
They've paid my debt, if I had one, because they've sold it to them, they've bought the debt. So that takes me out of the picture.
Yeah, you're no longer.
But he comes round with a knuckle duster trying to get the money off you, but he doesn't say, I bought your debt, you know, and now I need the money off you. It'd be a lot easier if he said that, wouldn't it? What he says is, you owe the council money and I'm here to get it. Well, that's where you've got to show, but where's your paperwork?
Working for in the council.
But then that mafia style tactic isn't just the debt collector, that's the council as well.
Well,
You-
shall I
you
tell you
walk-
what,
you
shall I tell you
walk-
what I've noticed?
Go
This is
on.
an odd thing to say. I phoned up to book an appointment for the dump, waste disposal thing,
Yes.
and when I dialed the number, it was the same number as the council tax.
Right.
Was it really? Right.
It was the same Anglian something or other,
Revenue part.
Hang on,
Yeah.
it was the same number. I did think that was odd,
Yeah.
because when I've rung up about my council tax before, when I couldn't pay it on over the phone, I've had to ring them up, it was the same number.
No, have you
It
noticed?
came up on my phone.
Right, you notice when you go to the tip, you have to pay for things. And you have to pay for more and more and more every time. At the minute, you have to sign into the tip.
Yeah.
You've got to book an appointment.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
just
At the
more
minute,
fly tipping.
Yeah, exactly.
And when they reduce the wheelie bin services
Yeah.
to once a month, it's going to
Yeah.
get even worse.
But what we've
Fly
got,
tipping in our lovely forest.
what we got to get round our heads, because, you know, especially me being a very focused ex-military man, this is bollocks. Where's the common sense? Why doesn't this? Why are we doing this? Once you get your head round that everything's a corporation and a business, and the corporation and business are only there to make money,
Yeah.
you start to see why we've got this encroachment all the time, and we can't get. You know, if you take a couple of tyres up off your car, you've got to pay. You know, if you knock your bathroom wall down, you've got to pay. Plasterboard, you've got to pay. Well, why have I got to pay? I've paid my council tax. No, you've got to pay. That's because they're running a business and they want to make a profit.
Yeah. Which brings me back to what I was going to say about it's legalised mafia, isn't it? You know, basically these councils and the water companies and anyone else who calls themselves a public authority, and they're not, they're private companies, it's demanding money with menaces, isn't it? You know, they're saying, right, well, I'm bringing a product to your door. You didn't order it, you didn't ask for it, but this is the amount we're going to charge you for it. And if you don't pay us for it, we're going to send the heavies round. So,
According to this, just quickly, Leighton and Bristow and Souter, council tax bailiffs fine for improper paperwork.
£4 grand.
Well,
£4
we
grand.
get all that time. Tina, if I said to you, how do we say this? Zach's the government, yeah?
God help us.
Nice one.
And I'm from France.
Yeah.
I come in with a lot of money and I say to Zach, I want to take over South West Water. And he goes, all right, yeah, how much have you got? And I go, well, I've got that for South West Water and I've got that for you. Yeah. Now what happens now is Zach sells South West Water to me. And I live in France in the Pyrenees. You're now the customer for South West Water. You're now paying me. And if you can't afford to pay your water bill, I'm not bothered because I live in France and all I'm doing is put you under pressure because I want my money because I'm greedy. And you don't even realise, you think you're paying your water rates and you're not, you're paying some fella in France
Yeah.
who's bought off some, I won't say the word, politician.
Take the mental, not the government part.
And this, you're going to find out, what you're going to find out, everything that's look, I am not a communist and I am not a socialist, but everything has been sold off.
Another thing no one's mentioned, which is a bit of a bugbear for me at the moment, so-called charities. So at the moment, when the TV's on, I'm working away, got this advert comes on for Smile Train, little children in Africa, cleft palates. It's terrible, you think, oh, it's terrible. Anyway, I thought I'll have a look at that Smile Train, just see how much the CEO earns on that a year. It was $750,000 a year, $750,000 a year from this Smile Train.
Yeah.
And
Smile.
I thought, oh,
He is.
Yeah.
now, That's, and I've looked at the other one, I looked at the Salvation Army actually, he's on 400 and something thousand
Yeah.
pounds.
But again, they're all big companies, they're all
And
corporations.
people are not realising that, are they?
Yeah, I look. This is way before the Michelle Moan thing came out. You know, about her yacht and what have you. There was again, it was just an advert for a charity came up. I thought, that's odd. I've never seen that one before, and it took me about 3 or 4 layers to get through. And it turns out it was a private company run by her husband, I think it was. And they're all just they're basically just shell companies. It's all just money laundering.
It's all racket.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Well,
People have got to wake up, they
I can
must.
tell you a quick story about a guy I know who was in prison, needed the vape. You can only buy one type of vape. This was way back when Theresa May was Prime Minister. One type of vape you can buy in prison, nationwide. Who owns the company that sells the vapes to the prisons? When she was Home Secretary, sorry. Her husband. Her husband owned the vape company that sold to all the prisons.
Yeah.
Because they
She was
stopped smoking,
secretary.
they banned the smoking, brought in the vapes.
Yeah,
Right.
she was Home Secretary.
Well.
Well, listen, for all I say, from Little Acorns, you know, those of us around the table who do a lot of research, things are happening all over the country. People are waking up. There's things happening at the world level. There's things happening at the local level.
Yeah.
We just got to keep the pressure on, keep the faith. What else have we got here? We need to look at the effective community assembly thing again. You know, see what's going with that. The other point I've got, we need anybody who's listening, please support LSB Film Productions on YouTube. I haven't done it myself yet, I haven't had time. But if everybody gives Chris £1 a month, which is nothing, and he's the tip of the spear, especially for us in Thetford in the local area. You know, if we can give him a decent wage of £1 a month, that means he can film, he can get better kit, and he can get the information out, he can get the truth out, and he can wake people up. So anybody who's watching, and there's the first pound.
Right, Chris, I'll have a pint.
No.
Well, maybe a quarter.
I've done mine, Chris, but
1913 maybe.
listen, that copy needs to be better. If I'm paying £1, no, honestly,
That's not my phone, that was a
I'd
bloody
like to cut
signal.
mine down to 50 if you're going to carry on doing that.
You need to have a word of O2.
Don't forget we're live here, people. Like the ongoing corruption of MPs, especially Labour, is next, and that takes us into the. There's another council today, I think it's Trafford, that have voted not to have any investigations on the grooming gangs. So we've got Labour councils all over the country are putting the kibosh on any investigations, and it's all corrupt because I think they know if there's an investigation, when it all happened and it's kicking off big time, they're all involved.
Yeah.
And that's with local police, local journalists, everything. So there's corruption everywhere. And
There was a Labour resignation this week as well. This week or last week, and the letter was damning. Yeah, against Starmer and the Labour Party in general.
well, look, what I'm going to say, this corruption, it flows down, and the corruption is by people knowing about it or just ignorance and stupidity. But it comes down. It influences the county, the district and the town, and that's because they all vote with the whip and they don't think about residents at that level, and we know that, don't we?
Yeah.
So be aware, whenever you see any corruption in that House of Parliament, you know it will affect us right down at this level, and we've got to keep calling it out, we've got to. And another thing to look forward to, because Zach's been banned, I keep talking about it, I've got to get in touch with the Free Speech Union and find out, you know, a little bit more on the legal side. Can they stop somebody from coming into a council meeting for how long? You know, what is the recourse to that? And I think I'm going to see if Council Watch can join the Free Speech Union with Toby, because they do back people.
Yeah.
You know, in the court.
Yeah.
So if we pay our money, we might get a result. So is there any more questions from the public before we wrap it up?
All good?
I swear I read that if they fear there's going to be disruption or harm to the public, they can ban someone. And if they fear that the certain members are going to do that, then I think that is in some constitution somewhere that they can ban people.
I thought they could only
From
ban them
a
from
public
a meeting,
meeting.
but then it all has to start fresh next meeting.
Don't know. Have to do some more digging.
But on that time that happened, the clerk was more aggressive than Zach.
yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Zach was getting high rated and what have you. But no, he never crossed the boundary. The boundary is to keep us or them away from us. But when it all went not too good for him, the clerk came climbing over that to us. She challenged us. So
On my
I
traffic.
was saying that
On my
has been,
traffic.
Yeah.
that has been addressed.
that's fine. But look,
We had a meeting, and that's what I say at the meeting after that. It really surprised me that
We've got a lot
we
more.
got acknowledgement.
yeah,
We got listened to, you know, and it was,
yeah.
it was all right. But then they went and stopped.
You know what you're saying about the clamp stairs and the book sales and it. Why don't we say to the council, we won't go on any further how the clerk went to us. So we just say Zach comes in, keeps quiet. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, got to work both
What is
ways.
wrong with that?
We'll
Can you
cross
cross
that
that?
bridge.
Yeah, no. If
Been known is being heard of.
no, but what I'm saying is, why can't we do that?
Because they've made a decision and they'll stick to
Yeah,
it.
but that tells me that they're dictating.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But we're gonna have to go. Yeah, we're gonna have to.
You know what I'm saying, Bob?
Which is what,
We're gonna have to look at
that's
how
the
we're gonna.
way
address
they,
that.
No,
they're
exactly.
they're not acting in the public interest.
That's what I'm saying. Not, you know, we would say, or Zach would say, look, okay,
No,
I'll curb it.
but the thing is, we got to be careful because if we force the issue, we go into the
In their ballpark, aren't we?
breach of the peace, and they get the police in, and we're
Well, we
looking.
wouldn't do that, would we?
Well, no,
No.
we will do if we try and get somebody in. So we've got to be very, very clever with what we do.
Yeah, on that matter, but you know, it's if they're behaving like this, why they're not there to represent us, are they? So why do we not stop, you know, suspending the money then? If it's got to work both ways, ain't it? If they can then sort of start dictating when they shouldn't be, then well, who pushes the money each month to go in? So they're not there to represent. Okay, not a problem. You're doing that, not letting me in. Let's hold the money back and then see how you play. Because I don't get paid at the start of every job I do. I have to wait until I finish it and everyone's happy and the money goes in. But these guys are getting paid up front without question. And we're giving the proof how corrupt the system is. So I'd say to people with my situation, hold the money back and see how they react.
Well, don't forget the town council doesn't get paid.
No, they don't. But there's district there and there's some county. Well, counties should be there, but they don't turn up.
Another point, Abbey Farm residents being affected by the knocking down of the houses, they've been notified they're going to have a one-to-one meeting, and so my son's going to be affected, so I'm going along to his meeting, whenever it is,
Well, everybody's being called in
for a
individually.
one-to-one meeting, yeah.
With
Really?
who? Well,
Don't know anything about it yet.
Would it be a Zoom or something?
but what is the feeling of the residents?
I don't want anything to happen to them.
I thought that had all been knocked on the head for
Back-
they're doing it through the back door.
They had, well, my son's had a letter, and as soon as he gets a date through and time for the meeting, I'll be going along with him.
Well, they need to get organised. They need to get involved. That's it.
Yeah, 100%.
Is that private? Is that owned? Is property owned?
No, he's
Right.
council.
Well, thanks for turning up. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next month.
Yeah.
Anyway, now you stop filming.
Thanks,
I've got
guys.
a solution
Look
for Zach.
Look after yourself.
Blonde wig.
Oh yeah.